Hello and welcome to Tell Me in Wrestling, the global podcast that uses ignorance and humour to find the gaps between everyday life and professional wrestling. If you are new to the podcast, we are going to discuss a topic in conversation, and I am going to be told how it works in the world of wrestling. I am your chronically ignorant and chronically ill host Phil, and I'm here with my tag team, all of a table between 10 a.m. on June the 21st, 1994 to 10 p.m. on July the 23rd, 1996. Please let me introduce a very confused Carl.
Hello.
And Dan.
Howdy doody.
What was all that about?
That was part of a philosophical solution to the subject matter that we're talking about today. And I've got to say, I don't understand it at all. But
it sounded like a lot of
You
dates
spent
and
the
gibberish.
best part of a week reading it.
It was something that really sort of struck me when I was reading the Wikipedia page on it.
All right.
Struck you in the sense that you were like,
gonna pop that in, yeah. That's gonna be a tag team name.
Are we going to come back to that and review it properly when we talk about it, or not?
No, because I genuinely.
This is Phil's research. He's just going to say it out loud and then leave it hanging.
Just leave it hanging and just let you two do all the work.
Well, if anyone knows what that's all about, then write in, let us know.
Well, what they're going to do, just send it on one of those ships and
email tellmeinwrestling@gmail.com.
There we go.
Or add a comment to the YouTube.
Yeah.
The YouTube.
We now are on YouTube. If you happen to listen to us in the audio version, come to YouTube. See our lovely, handsome faces.
Look at this.
Yeah, to do that. How are you both? You all right?
Yeah, I had a hat on before. This is cold. I'm just taking it off because I thought,
wow, what?
I like the fact that of all the sort of life events that have been going on since the last recording, which was a few days ago, you taking off a hat.
Yeah, I had a hat on before.
Right,
not anymore. Anyway,
I have it on now. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, it's been a good 3 minutes since I took the hat off.
I dread to think what would happen if you took your trousers off.
There's a little parade. Go on.
Yeah. That's for the OnlyFans.
your only dance.
Yeah. Only dance. My only dance page. Not going for free on YouTube.
Dandy Rose.
Well, we may be returning to that later on in the show.
Oh. Phil, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I left the house today of my own volition. I know. Just went to town.
What did
you
go
and get something?
Hospital visit, was it?
No, I had to go into town. I had to go to the chemist.
What did you get?
Some stuff. I'm not.
Some stuff.
Some stuff. Yeah, some stuff from the chemist that I needed.
Condoms for a little posh wank now.
Yeah, that's what it was.
There we go. For his new job.
Yeah, for my job. Oh, I did. I've mentioned, maybe last year that I was starting a volunteer job, and I'm actually starting it proper next week for the first time, which would be nice.
What does this actually entail then? I know we've made jokes about it in the past, but what are you actually volunteering as?
So if there's someone in the community who's it's initially struggling with loneliness, but it's for people who just maybe need a little bit of help, maybe a bit of time spent with someone else.
Shouldn't there be some kind of positive that comes from that now?
Hey, I can be a positive person. It's only for an hour. That's all I have to manage.
Sounds like punishment having you come round.
I don't know about that.
Having to make your fucking home wheelchair accessible. So have you rolling in?
No, I'll be scooting in my really comfortable Skechers. I'll be happy as Larry, mate.
Oh, nice.
Well,
going in, chatting with an old person, having a cup of tea. We'll be.
You could do, but
contrasts and comparisons.
This could be a bit of a Tell Me in Wrestling publicity tour. Go around all the old folks' homes. Going, do you know what podcast this is? Yeah, I'll stick it on your telly. We need our views up.
There we go.
Yeah, just have it on silent. That's fine. Yeah, just don't watch.
Yeah, we just need the views. Get the views. Get the numbers up. And we're like, "What's your demographic?" Well, let me tell you.
That's what my
you really want to target that 55 to 70 age demographic with through a wrestling podcast.
Even more than we're
gonna get ads for orthopedic shoes. Oh dear.
Brilliant.
Anyway,
well, how are you, Carlos?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm all right.
You're all right.
Same old. Nothing to report.
How many days back at work have you been now?
Yes, today and yesterday.
Yeah. How much have you done? Sweet FA or?
I've been grafting, mate. It's been busy actually.
Have you been grafting?
I'm always grafting. Makes the days go quicker, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've managed to actually blag pretty much very little. But I think tomorrow is going to be my big day.
Yes.
I've got an early start, 6 a.m. and then I'm off to the tattooist at 10 a.m. for me consultation.
Consultation.
Yeah.
Is it to make sure that
you're sure you want to do
it? Sounds like you're getting a fucking, I don't know, fake teeth put in or something, not a fucking tattoo.
Are you going to get, those people who have like skin modifications? You're not going to get like a pair of horns or something?
I've gone from having 2 tattoos to going complete modification. Get your horns, getting fake teeth put in.
It's going to remove his top lip.
Split tongue, the works. Head's going to absolutely love it. No, it's because it's a sleeve, and I want to make sure it's right. I don't want to just walk in and then be like, oh, I don't think that's right in 2 weeks' time, and go and just sort of.
Yeah, it's a bit late once they've
awkwardly accept it. Yeah. I don't want to, so obviously, best to sort of go, I want this here, or get some recommendations and then just go, right, there you go.
Very good.
And also, so get it all sorted, but so hopefully another day. Well, it'll be an early start and then another day of blagging it. Love this new job.
Nice.
Hope my boss doesn't hear this.
There we go, shouting about this.
Yeah.
Well, then you could.
Anyways, Carlos.
Then you might have to quiet quit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like what it is doing.
Yeah,
pretty much. It's like an Irish goodbye. They don't even have left. Yeah, come on, Carl. Poem me.
Right. Okay.
Whoa.
Poem me.
Whoa.
Poem me.
It's a bit forward, mate, but all right, let's see what I can do. Right.
How long have you spent on this one?
Probably. I have probably spent. Let me think.
Did you spend longer on the poem than it took Dan to realise his Doc Martens were a mistake?
Oh, way shorter.
Way shorter than 15 minutes.
We're talking like, I don't know, seconds.
Okay.
Poem. Yeah.
It's just so natural to you. You don't need to spend that much time.
Wow.
I sent a message at 6:58 saying, I'll be on the pod in a minute. I'm just dashing to the loo. Was the poem already written by then? Did you write?
Yeah. No. This is. Listen. This is. You might be judging the time spent on this, and I will explain the time spent on it after I've read it. But this is some premium poetry.
Okay.
Right. So it's high.
Poet.
This is like the closest we've gotten to who's a famous poet, not Shakespeare. Who's a famous poet? Yeah, that guy. This is the closest we've got to him or her, whoever that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
In the ring, they grapple and fight. The wrestlers each a champion in their own right. They push and they shove. They sweat and they love. The thrill of the match, the roar of the crowd. It's all about the show, the drama, the flow of bodies flying through the air, the cheers and the jeers. And when it's all said and done, the wrestlers pick themselves up and run back to the locker room to rest. But they'll be back. They know they must, for it's time to tell. In wrestling, there is no end. To the battles fought, the stories told. It's time to tell me in wrestling.
Very good. I really enjoyed
that.
I think Coleridge would have approved of that. He was one of the romantic poets. He would have liked the whole drama and going on. Yeah,
romanticism going on in that. Yeah.
Can you guess how I did that in such a short amount of time?
Because you've stolen it from somebody else.
No, that's an original poem.
Because did you run it through that chat GPT?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I basically said to chat GPT, the AI tool, I said, write me a poem about wrestling and end on the line, it's time for Tell Me in Wrestling.
Can we hear
I'll tell you what, you might call me a fraud, but that is an absolute corker of a poem, isn't it? I got a bit teary-eyed reading that.
The AI are taking over.
Unbelievable. I was amazed.
That's how they're going to take over.
First go, it did it in one.
When was it that the who was it who introduced an AI chatbot? It was only a couple of years ago.
It was and within Microsoft. They made it racist.
And within a day, they were like, the experiment's over because humanity ruined it immediately.
Was it called like Dolly or something like that?
It was definitely a girl's name, and everyone made her just spout the most heinous, disgusting shit imaginable.
What was it called? Tay. It was called Tay.
There we go.
And it's Microsoft. Yeah, I think it got shut down.
Yeah, I don't think that could have written any poems.
It was like days, and it became a Nazi supporting robot, didn't it?
Oh god. Yeah. So that was an AI that you taught. This is an AI that sort of learns from the questions that you asked it. But that's how the AI are going to take over, isn't it? It's like they're not going to sort of blast our heads off. They're going to take over our hearts.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do now, I know it's a bit of a cop out on the whole poem front, is use maybe our main event subject and get a poem written using that and wrestling each time, maybe, or something like that.
Don't work harder, work smarter.
Exactly.
There was a question that you asked in one of our earlier episodes, Carl, which I think would be quite amusing to ask the chat AI, which is, what are beans? I would like to know what an AI answer is for that.
I would like to know what...
Baked beans.
It was literally, your question was just, what are beans?
I mean, it will come back. Beans are a type of... Legume. Okay. I didn't know how to pronounce that. Which is a plant that produces seeds in pods. There are many different. Right, it just gives you a long description.
But is that how they grow? Then is that kind of like it'd be like peas in a pod, isn't it? It'll grow up, and then do you take the beans out of the pods?
I have no idea.
We're cross pollinating, the episodes here, aren't we?
If you happen to be a bean farmer and you're listening to us, do you want to maybe email us at tellmeinwrestling@gmail.com with what beans are and how you grow them and pick them?
Lads, it's all over. It's over for us. We're done. It just explained in a really boring way what beans are. Yeah. And I said, explain it again, but use a professional wrestling analogy. Said, sure, here's another way to explain beans using a professional wrestling analogy. Think of beans as the tag team champions of the plant world. These legume? What was it?
Legumes.
These legume superstars come in a variety of types, each with their own unique set of skills and flavors. There are the heavy hitters like kidney beans and black beans that pack a powerful protein punch. Then there are high-flying beans like navy beans and pinto beans that bring speed and agility. And it goes on, but we're done.
We're done. The AI is taking over our podcast. Oh, God. That's what we should do. We should just replace us three with that voice to AI.
And then just create like animations of us that can just maybe something like that. But so that's not how if people can get the information straight on AI, then what are we doing here? What value are we adding to the world? Bloody hell.
The AI is not going to make links about like Samuel Taylor Coleridge though, and
exactly
like we did.
Oh, I mean, it'll probably make it better.
Really?
Comparison.
Well, anyway, we'll go back to the AI. I'm sure, but I think that's my new poem technique, which I think will be quite amusing.
Should we do a quick game? A bit of Show Me the Money?
Show me the money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Dollar.
It's so weird having the theme tune actually played.
It makes it feel more like an actual show.
Like morning zoo radio, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, the world of wrestling is obsessed with money, from ironclad contracts to billion-dollar princesses. We've money in the bank ladder matches, casino battle royales. As $1 million man says, everyone's got a price. So this week, I want you to tell me, how much did Mandy Rose make last month on OnlyFans?
I'm going to bow out because I know the answer.
Okay, yeah.
Ooh, right, okay.
We discussed this. I think this was just before the Christmas episode. That former NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose, she lost her title on the Tuesday night on NXT, and the following morning she was released by WWE. And it was because of the content she was putting out on her. It's actually not OnlyFans; it's Fan Time, which is weird because
Dan is definitely not subscribed to it. Definitely not.
This is pure research, and maybe we do need to get the AI chat to do it to stop his grubby little habits.
Exactly. I mean, I have to do the research for the podcast.
You do, yeah.
That's the excuse.
It's got to be done.
I wondered what that was on the expense report for the
Fan Time. Yes, so that's why it's better because everyone knows what OnlyFans is now. Fan Time. Ooh, what's that?
What's that?
It's the exact same thing.
You're like, it's my whole city supporters.
Yeah, it's the fanzine that I get delivered every month.
Whole time is Fan Time. Do
you think people are still getting done by bill statements? Because you don't get them in the post anymore, do you? Like you used to do.
No, it'll bank accounts, won't it?
But who's dumb enough? If you try to hide something like that, who's dumb enough to do it on
a shared bank account?
I mean, plenty of people.
But then it'll be like, I don't know, what does OnlyFans come up on you? I know that a lot of.
I don't know. Dad, you tell us.
No idea.
I have no idea. But in the past, didn't like things like that come up under a more discreet business name, so it didn't look. Because I know that for mortgages, you've got to supply 3 months worth of your bank statements, haven't you? So obviously, you don't really want to hand over to your mortgage advisor. Why are you spending £75 a month on random
wanking?
Wanking, yeah. But so
listen, I invest in my wanks, all right.
It's got to be a good one.
Bank account or wank account.
But that's that. I don't know. Maybe it does come up under a more discreet name then, because again, OnlyFans is kind of like
comes up as mutual clunge.
Oh dear.
What if I bet somewhere in America there is a bank called Mutual and there'll be a place name called Clunge or something very similar to that.
Oh god, that properly. That's got the cobwebs shaken off. Anyway, how much did she earn, Phil?
How much did she earn, Phil?
Oh, how much did she earn last month?
Yeah.
Well, I think the last time she was mentioned, you did say something like 500,000, but I could be mistaking that for someone else that we spoke about. Right. In order to make it at least interesting, then I'll give a different answer. So I'm going to go for 250,000 last month.
250,000.
Go on, I'll have a guess.
Yeah.
Was it $1 million?
Yes, it was $1 million.
She's gone up. See,
she has gone up. She's doubled it, mate.
Do you reckon it's all come from people who've listened to us?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we directed
all those Colombians and pensioners.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going to be asking our parents to look at their bank accounts and goes, "Why have you got fan time on your bank account?"
So, you know, it's interesting about that. I was because I saw that news get announced the other day. Because obviously she was already earning good money, wasn't she? Like, what was the last answer? 500? Was it 500,000?
I think it was. Yeah, 500,000. She'd earned.
So she's doubled it by using the publicity of her firing, essentially, which is, I don't know, fucking good on her, like we said last time.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. But the publicity was just like, I think a lot of people will have just subscribed to go, oh, is she actually releasing? I don't actually know if she's actually putting full spicy content.
Here he is again. I don't know. No, I've got no idea. But why don't you do a bit of research and come back to us next week on that?
I'll have to run it through a private bank account.
It's time for this week's John Wiki. I start on John Cena's Wikipedia page and I fall down a wrestling rabbit hole. And I am now going to test these two giant wrestling nerds to see who knows the most about the wrestling that I find out about. So
lots of happy hints.
Lots of happy hints. It's 3-3 at the minute.
It is
very close. Yeah. And you've both guessed at least one on the first guess.
Yeah.
And we've definitely not guessed loads.
Yeah, we've missed a few with you flying over to Japan for some reason. You bloody weeb.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was designed by Charles Crumrine in 1985.
Okay.
I'm going to guess the NWA World Championship belt.
I'm going to need to maybe just have a quick look to make sure that the thing that I'm talking about hasn't got another name.
I'm gonna say.
So there's a big fucking clue for you there, both. Sorry, what did you say? What did you say, Carl?
NWA World Heavyweight Championship belt or title.
Did the NWA
Okay.
have an
Fuck!
I'm gonna. Okay.
Have you fucked up?
I might have fucked up. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Come on. This is like, what am I thinking?
Because right. So because
let that answer and then tell us.
Okay.
I think it's a Brit. I might say the United Kingdom title, but it's not the whatever.
World of Sport.
World of Sport British, yeah. World of Sport British Championship.
Okay.
One of you's got it right.
No, you are both wrong.
Okay.
I did just have to double check that there isn't. There's so many times that I've seen something and it's got like 8 different names, and I'm like, and even though I'm a wonderful host to this game, sometimes you kind of need to know what the answers are.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a clue. My predecessor, which is what Carl's answer was, had been used since 1973.
What?
Oh, wow. Is this the big goal?
Or is it the, what's it called, 10 pounds of silver?
10 pounds of gold, innit? Oh, no, there's 10 pounds of silver, isn't there? Oh, there's 10 pounds of...
Right.
Yeah.
No, right.
Can we just say I was right?
Well, I'm not entirely sure because I'm reading the Wikipedia page again. It's worded a bit ambiguously because you could read a sentence. I'm going to go through the rest of the clues very quickly.
Yeah. So did any of us get that right?
Well, Carl might have got it right, but it depends on how you read. Right, I'm going to read the Wikipedia article out. So you can read it. But my other things were I left WCW in 1991 with Ric Flair. I was defaced by Hollywood Hogan.
The big gold championship belt.
The big
there
gold.
We go.
So
now, are they the same thing?
No.
Because okay.
No, so the reason why it's ambiguous is because WCW and the NWA were merged at one point, and then they split apart, and WCW created its own championship, which is the one that the answer was for, which was called the Big Gold, because it's big and gold. It's very, very synonymous with Ric Flair.
And Carl was probably referencing the 10 pounds of gold, which is the original.
Yeah. But the way some of the sentences were worded, it didn't make clear if it was the first belt that was named that or this one.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just...
That was the first proper shambolic one.
Yeah, so 3 to me, 3 to Dan, -1 to Phil on John Wiki, I would say.
Am I getting a point taken away?
I think, yes, let's make a note of that. It's 3-3 -1.
Can I just say, though, read that first clue out again.
I was designed by Charles Crumrine in 1985.
I mean, that's a pretty good fucking guess, isn't it? To get a belt that's albeit the wrong one, but
pretty much
linked to
it.
That's not bad, is it? Come on.
That's the thing. I didn't know whether that is going to be a really obvious fact that loads of wrestling people know.
No, never heard of him.
Right.
I reckon there'll be some hardcore ones who'll know that the big gold, the designer of the big gold.
I only know. I think it's Dave Panzer or Bill Panzer or something like that as a belt designer, but he's more recent years. I don't know any others.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's 3.
You know, it felt, by
3
the way,
3 plays
right?
-1.
Yeah, exactly.
3 minus
That was good though. I enjoyed that, despite it being a complete.
What were you going to
shambles.
say? Sorry.
I was going to say, like, you think of like wrestling, right, as this kind of, it's quite, I don't know, unique, and it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of geeky and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and it's its own like kind of subculture. Even worse than that, within wrestling, there's an entire belt collector kind of subculture and fandom where people know, like, you can ask someone, oh, the NWA title from fucking 1970s, what's going on with that? They'll know who owns the original, how many versions were created, who designed it, how it was fitted to the leather, how the actual metal. Like, it's insane the amount people know about it. Like, that is a step too far for me. But people fucking love
it's
it.
Okay, I kind of know how far down into the rabbit hole I need to go before I'm, covered in rabbit shit, I guess.
Well, it looks like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event.
So, this week's main event, we are looking at a philosophical paradox that is called. It's sometimes more commonly known as Trigger's Broom. Now,
I think that's what it's referred to here in the UK, isn't it? I mean,
it
probably won't be. I think that's a better.
There's different versions all over the world, and it's how often can you replace the component parts of an object before it stops being the same object. And this was brought up in a classic British sitcom called Only Fools and Horses, where the village idiot called Trigger says that he has been working the same job for 20 years and he's still got the same broom as when he started, but he's replaced the head 17 times and the handle 14 times.
Should you have a little watch?
Yeah.
It's a long time, Dave.
Yeah? Well, it's 2 decades, isn't it?
I wouldn't go that far.
Tree, just a second. If you've had that broom for 20 years, have you actually swept any roads with it?
Well, of course. But I look after it well. We have an old saying that's been handed down by generations of road sweepers. Look after your broom.
Would your broom look after you?
No, Dave. It's just look after your broom. Yeah, and that's what I've done. I've maintained it for 20 years. This old broom has had 17 new heads and 14 new handles in its time.
How the hell can it be the same bloody broom?
Well, here's a picture of it. What more proof do you need?
I forgot about that little bit at the end.
So good.
It's genius, yeah. I think that is a better analogy, the better description of the actual Theseus than
it started off in ancient Greece, I believe, where there was a guy called the guy in Greek mythology who what did he do? He rescued the children of Athens. That's what he did.
Oh yeah, good man.
Yeah, good old Theseus. And to commemorate the legend of what he did, they would sail a ship from Athens to another place in Greece called Delos. But over time, the ship would need repairing, and then eventually, at some point, there would be a point where there'd be no parts of the original ship left. So is it still the same ship?
What do you two think on this?
Oh my god! I mean, I've tried thinking about it, and it just hurts my head because there'll be people who are far cleverer than me who will actually understand the answer and deconstruct it a lot better than my foggy brain can.
I think it kind of depends on what the object is.
Do you reckon?
I think that might be one of the philosophical answers. It depends.
Well, a ship is still a ship, right? And it's I don't know. It's got more parts than 2 parts like a broom has.
Yeah, but that's the thing with a broom. There's essentially 3 parts to it. There's the head, the handle, and then there's the owner. So it's Trigger's broom. So as long as again,
what are you on about?
I mean, so that's.
Are you just philosophizing on the fly here, Dan?
Yeah, I am.
What do you mean? But the owner isn't part of the broom, is it? Unless he's got it
No,
shoved
but,
up his arse.
but it's triggers broom. So as long as
I don't think that the person owning it is the essential part of this analogy.
No, but no, that's
it's the captain's ship. Captain's die.
But so then it's no longer.
Are you meaning sort of more like the name that you give to it? Sort of like if it was a ship.
It's the ownership. The ownership of it is still,
because it's still that thing.
As long as the components, exactly. The components may have changed, but it's still
belonging to.
Performs the function of again being Trigger's broom because Trigger's still.
But doesn't the ship support that analogy? Your explanation more than Trigger's broom does. Because
I think it's easier to deconstruct the broom, obviously, because there's only three parts to it. There's obviously the understanding that, yes, I know there's multiple different.
But it doesn't have that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's more if it's named something has a name, like a ship has a name.
If Trigger had named his broom Trigger's broom,
if it was.
What is it? There was a picture of
on
it
the side of it or something.
Oh, yeah, there was a picture of it. Do you know what?
So there you go.
But it's not. Yeah, I don't know. It's not like signed. It's not like one of a kind, is it?
No, but that's what he's not trying to.
It's not like someone smashed a champagne bottle off the side and gone, "I name you Trigger's broom."
Trigger's broom. Yeah.
Or maybe they did. Who knows?
I was not expecting us to go down this.
Well, there's a
philosophical rabbit hole.
There's a over here in the UK. There's a British girl group called the Sugababes, and their lineups changed loads of times, and it's often the butt of a joke, like, "Oh, I was in the Sugababes. Oh, so was I. When were you there? Oh, early 2000s." Oh.
Yeah, speaking of the Sugababes, I've actually got a funny little game. So
funny. It better be funny. If you just say
it better be funny. Yeah. So there's no. This is probably going to be super embarrassing, but there's no intro to it. But I've kind of done a little poem/song to intro it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So,
I can find something. If we get
music behind it, you have to sing. You have to actually sing it though.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to try and do this. So
I'll get you in auto tune and
yeah. Right, here we go. Mel is caught up in the middle. Jade is just a riddle. I'm falling for Siobhan tonight. Because Heidi's making trouble. Keisha's based a buttable. Is Muchia gonna be all right?
Is that to the tune of a
Sugababes
song? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I tried singing every name of the member of the band. So there's been 6 members of the Sugababes.
Yep.
Multiple different variations of a threesome.
Has there been one stalwart in the?
I don't think so.
So this is where.
Oh, I might be giving away.
Is it a Sugababe, or is this not? Are these the Sugababes? Or are these not the Sugababes? Some shit I made up.
What? Is this a Sugababe or is it some shit I made up?
Do you know what? I thought we had the most shambolic game earlier on. Dan's trying to take my title on this.
Dan just started explaining something and then just went, "Oh, some shit I made up just out of nowhere."
No, basically, the Sugababes were always 3 girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But there's been 6 Sugababes, 6 girls who've been in the Sugababes.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to read out as. If you listened to the intro of the song, I told you all of 6 of their names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Siobhan Donaghy, Muchia Buena, Keisha Buchanan, Heidi Range, Amelia Bebara, and Jade Ewan.
Right.
Those are the 6. Right. I'm going to read out a variation of 3 of those together, and you have to tell me were they actually Sugababes or were they not Sugababes.
I see. Right. Oh, right. Okay. This is just going to be absolute potluck, isn't it?
I've got an idea on how to play this game.
Oh, go on. Okay. Right. Well, we'll discuss tactics afterwards.
Yep.
So I've done 7 different variations on them.
Okay.
For fuck's sake! All right.
And you'll have to tell me which ones are actual Sugababes. Okay. So the first one: Siobhan, Amelia, and Heidi.
I think that was a set of Sugababes.
I'm going to say no.
They're not Sugababes.
My tactic's gone. It's not done very well.
Oh dear.
I'm going to stick with it though. I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
Stick with it.
Heidi, Muchia, and Keisha.
No.
Yes.
They are Sugababes. Phil knows his Sugababes.
Oh, look at my
technique is gone. It's out the window.
Pop knowledge.
Heidi, Amelia, Mucha.
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
They're not Sugababes. I'll have it.
Boys! 3-0. If I get to 4, I've won the game.
You have.
Mucha, Keisha, and Jade.
No.
I'll have to make it interesting then. I'll say yes.
They're not Sugababes.
3-1. There we go.
Heidi, Amelia, Jade.
No.
No.
They are Sugababes.
Ooh. We've
Siobhan,
got 2 left.
yeah.
You should get these
Siobhan,
right, Carl.
Mucha, and Keisha.
Yes.
I'm going to say no then.
They are Sugababes.
Pulling it the last one.
And Heidi, Amelia, and Keisha.
No.
No, I was going to say no as well.
They
But
are
also-
Sugababes.
Well
Phil
done.
wins.
That was...
So there's been 4 variations
So,
of them,
yeah.
How long have they been together?
and they've come back together. So,
That depends what-
they've
what do you mean by that?
Which-
They've always been together and they've never been together.
So we've had Siobhan, Mucha, and Keisha from 1999 to 2001. And then Siobhan was replaced by Heidi. So it's Heidi, Mucha, and Keisha from 2001 to 2006. And then Mucha was replaced with Amelia. So it's Heidi, Amelia, and Keisha from 2006 to 2010. And then Heidi, Amelia, and Jade from 2010 to 2012. That variation of them had no original members of the Sugababes at all.
interesting.
And then from 2012 until 2019, Siobhan, Mucha, and Keisha were known as SMK because they were in a legal battle to retain the rights, the name to the Sugababes. And then they got the name back in 2019. And then in 2022, they released a new album.
I was going to say that I read something the other day about them, that the original members are all back.
They got back
Yeah.
together
Interesting.
and got their names back. So yeah. So when were the Sugababes? Not the Sugababes. Did they ever was Heidi, Amelia, and Jade really the Sugababes when there was no original actual component of them?
I don't think so. Well, I guess it feels like more like they were a tribute act.
Well,
and I mean, the other
They
side of it is
sang
like,
the songs of other people.
I mean, what were they doing in that time? Like pub crowds, like uni things. It's not exactly.
No,
like
they were still
releasing music.
they released an album and it was
How did it do?
really, really badly, and it got critically panned. And following down a Twitter rabbit hole of the Sugababes fans, they claimed that this really wasn't the real Sugababes because their music had deviated so far from what they were previously producing that it was just generic off the shelf. Because the original were kind of like.
Which Twitter account did this come from? Was it your own personal one?
Yeah,
it was on my own Twitter account. If you look at my tweets from 2010 to 2012, I'm there. Just going,
yeah.
Jade's not my sugar babe.
We try and forget about Dan's sugar babe addiction, don't we?
Yeah.
Is that the same Twitter account that's now a Mandy Rose Stan account?
Exactly.
We're learning a lot about you today, Daniel.
Yeah,
exactly.
Real
exactly.
peek behind the curtain. Do you know what the kind of the thing I struggle with all of this chat?
Yeah.
I don't care. Just don't give a shit. Like, who gives a shit? It's a boat. It's a broom. It's a fucking Sugababes. Who cares? Like, I want an example that I'd care about.
Okay, here's an example.
Go on.
Now, the human body replaces itself every 7 years. In terms of your cells will die, they'll be replaced by another. So technically, every 7 years, you're a different human being, completely to the one you were before.
But your brain's not replaced, though, is it? Your heart's not replaced. Your liver's not replaced. Your heart, your soul. That's
yeah. It's like saying if you lost a leg and you got it amputated and had to get
regrew a new
like a fake leg fitted.
Yeah, prosthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can't.
I was going to say peg leg. Yeah, you're still the same person, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you've gained something, whether you've lost something,
yeah.
So I actually wrote down a couple of bits. So I think, and I think what we talked about in terms of factions is probably going to be closer because it's more, you can slot and replace people and stuff like that. It's similar to like a girl band and like the Sugababes. But one of the things I was thinking that's kind of, I guess, related to this kind of is what makes the kind of wrestler get over and get popular? Is it the person or is it the gimmick? And if you remove the gimmick, do they stay popular? And if you remove the person and then move that gimmick elsewhere, do they stay popular?
And that's all interchangeable as well.
Exactly, yeah. So
all over the place.
So like for example, I've got a couple of I've got one main example, well, two main examples, but I've got a couple of like bits and bobs. Like for example, Steve Austin was wrestling for 10 plus years, and he had like middling success in like WCW, and then he came into WWE as the ringmaster, and he was who Dan mentions in the Show Me the Money, the Ted DiBiase's kind of stooge, if you like, and kind of muscle guy. But he didn't get, and then eventually he became the most popular wrestler and money drawing wrestler of all time. But he didn't do that until he kind of became himself effectively, and kind of, you know, a lot of the people say that wrestling gimmicks are their own personality turned up to 11, and it wasn't until he did that, and he did his 316 speech at King of the Ring 96, I think, and then had a feud with Bret Hart where they did like what you call a double turn, where Bret Hart went in as a good guy, Austin as a bad guy, and then they flipped within the match because it was so brutal. And that was when he like went to superstardom after that. And then similar with Triple H, he came in as kind of this, it was always called a blue blood gimmick, where he was very like posh and almost like part of,
what, with Triple H?
Yeah, so he came in as this very like kind of an aristocrat type of character, like he was from old money. So yeah, that's where Triple H comes from.
Didn't really stick, did it?
Well, exactly. That's my point. It kind of didn't really work, and then he, you know, slowly but surely became part of D-Generation X and had a bit of attitude about him, and then obviously the rest is history. So it's kind of like, well, would they be successful if they hadn't have changed gimmicks and changed course, or would they have just kind of eventually become nothing, just make over?
Well, you look at wrestlers that have gone into obscurity because they never pivoted their original shit gimmick.
And you could say that's because they couldn't be asked. You could say they weren't given a chance to, or you could say that their kind of actual personality that they're ramping up to 11 just isn't really strong enough to do that, and their personality in general. But it's just an interesting kind of thing to think about, right? And it felt similar to this. And then more specifically,
can you give the gimmick to somebody?
Yes.
Can somebody else embody the gimmick?
Yeah.
So can you literally remove the person, keep the gimmick, and just slot someone else into place?
So like if our gimmick was shambolic games, then I essentially just passed the baton on to Dan, and Dan just ran with it, and we were both fantastic at it.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
they do that. They do have a interchangeable. Is it interchangeable gimmick? Is that the right phrasing? In New Japan, the tiger mask. They give that, but that's kind of like, that's
more, I don't know, you kind of carry on the legacy, don't you, as opposed to it kind of...
Is that what Trigger's Broom is? Is it not carrying on the legacy of Trigger's Broom?
Well, it could be. I've got an example that isn't quite that, where Phil, there's two wrestlers, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. They were in WWF at the time in the kind of mid-90s as Razor Ramon and Diesel. And we've talked about them before, but they were very, very popular. And they basically decided, we're not getting paid enough, we're going to leave and go to WCW because they were offering the first kind of guaranteed money contracts ever. So they go off to WCW, and the whole storyline of them going into WCW is like an invasion. That they're here, they've come from WWF and they're invading WCW, which we'll kind of come onto in a little bit as well with what they became. And then so WWF is back on their side saying, well, two of our biggest stars have just left, what are we going to do? And they thought, well, we created those characters, we created who those wrestlers are, let's just keep the characters and give someone else the gimmick. So they brought in what they call fake Diesel and fake Razor as part of a kind of faction with Jim Ross.
What they named them that? Please tell me they didn't name them that.
Well, they basically acted like they were the real deal.
Right. Okay.
But obviously the fans very quickly were like, what the fuck? It's like pound shop Kevin Nash here.
Yeah.
So they basically, I guess they essentially treated the audience like they're stupid.
Yeah.
Which isn't the best thing to do. And it was a just shambolic, spiteful move from the WWE to kind of almost be like, we're bigger than you, and so are the characters that we own.
The people who are coming in to take that role as well, they have so much stuff to live up to.
Say who one of them was in a second, but that's the thing, isn't it? Imagine you've got this kind of like, not quite a legend, but someone who's very, very popular, and they leave, and you're like, right, literally, go put his boots on. You're going to fill his boots. You're like, whoa, what the fuck did I do? And equally, that's your big break. So like,
but surely the gimmicks are designed specifically for that person, and they're not really as easily transferable as maybe you'd think, because someone's skill set is going to be completely different.
But they used very similar kind of looking and similar kind of. I mean, Kevin Nash is a terrible actual wrestler. He only does like 7 moves, but the person who replaced him is actually a way better wrestler, but didn't have the charisma and everything like that Kevin Nash had.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I think, again, I might be giving WWE a lot of credit here by trying to think that they treat the characters and they treat their universe as this entertainment world where they could replace the character with new actors. Yeah, like, so using Marvel as an perfect example, in the Iron Man movies, they replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
In between films for one of the, I can't remember the Ironmonger. Basically, Ironmonger. That's the the wrong character.
It would be a completely different film.
Isn't he Patriot or something like that?
Patriot, Iron Patriot. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Ironmonger.
The Ironmonger, Iron Patriot, same thing. But they replaced that character, and there was chat maybe of replacing Chadwick Boseman with another actor in the latest
Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean, they do all the time, don't they? Like, there's been about
they do it all the time
Batmans,
in films as well. And Batman's they can replace Batman. So maybe I think again, if I'm giving the WWE a little bit too much credit by thinking they own the character Diesel, and this is our own created universe. Not really, as you were saying, that the beauty of wrestling is the merging of this real and not real, and it's not when is a character not a character, it is the person. So you can change the gimmick, but it's actually the human being that embodies that person.
But I think isn't that like the best kind of, I don't know, explanation of how shit the WWE are? Because to them, they don't see the human being; they see the money coming in and the character that they've kind of supposedly created, and then therefore that's all they kind of see, and they just see the dollar signs. I think this whole thing with them was a spiteful move to try and basically like, you're nothing without us.
That's what it seemed like.
But I do think, just following what Dan said there, I do think there was some kind of legitimate, well, if this works here, we could essentially have a conveyor belt of fucking bodies that we just put in here, and then one after the other, we just replace them. And it is like Batman, it is like Bond. Like that's how we do it. Because at the time as well, it was like during what you call the new generation, which was kind of very, very gimmick heavy. Like everyone had a job. Like everyone was like, oh, he's a garbage man. He does taxes. He does this. Like everyone had a job, and they were very like cartoonish almost characters, and I feel like it probably was the perfect time to kind of test out like just how fucking stupid are these people. Let's just give it a go, and then let's see. But obviously it was a massive failure. But but the guy who faked Diesel, Phil, do you know what he went on to become?
I've absolutely no idea.
Undertaker's brother Kane. So he used to
okay.
Now the mayor, the crazy right-wing mayor of Knox County.
Yeah, he was before that gimmick as well. I think we discussed him as Isaac Yankem
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're the same person.
The evil dentist, yeah.
So that kind of feeds into the theory that it is the person, not the gimmick, so to speak.
And they just need to kind of find the right one.
Yeah.
And then they can create magic.
Yeah.
But until then, they kind of just meander and jump from shitty gimmick to shitty gimmick until they find one that sticks.
Did you both watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when you were younger?
Yes.
Can you remember they replaced
the mum?
They replaced the mum in like season 2, and the way that they did it was they just broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And we're just like, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
They say something, you've done something that looks weird. You've done something with your hair or something. They kind of
that you look different,
nod and a wink. Yeah, but again, that's a character, isn't it? So it's I think again, WWE probably thought they could.
They thought let's
they could Fresh Prince it.
Let's give it a go.
So again, New Japan do that with Tiger Mask. WWE, I say recently, within the last 10 years with Sin Cara, their character. So they did their own version of Tiger Mask, which was a masked character, and they had a luchador come over from Mexico. He had a few issues, so they replaced him with another wrestler under the mask, similar body shape, performing a very, very similar moveset. And then they kind of went,
then they had a feud against each other.
They had a feud against each other.
Really?
Yeah, that would be cool.
But it was,
I suppose, I think it's kind of like bringing out the infinite universe kind of theory.
Yeah, a little bit.
Everything exists all at once.
Yeah,
we just have to live in this
That's where they've kind of maybe would have got away with this whole replacement of the equal parts and nobody really questioning it.
I think you can do it when it's like some kind of mid-level under a mask character, but when it's kind of like imagine
your sellers.
Yeah, imagine if like in the Attitude Era they were like, oh yeah, this is the Rock, and he's like trying to do the eyebrow thing and struggling, like it's the Rock. So it's just an interesting. That was kind of my my initial, in fact, not my initial thought. My initial thoughts of what we're going to talk about in a minute, but when I was kind of thought a bit deeper about it, I was like, oh, is it the gimmick or is it the wrestler? And we've not really answered that, but we had a good chat in the process.
Yeah.
So why not?
We made it interesting.
Yeah.
Well, WWE have kind of got history of less so with the character, but they've this whole replacement, the Sugababes ideology of how many times can you shuffle the pack before it's not a completely different faction in this case. So they've done WWE and WCW. So there was one which I wanted to quickly chat about, which was the Shield in WWE.
Have we spoken about the Shield before?
We've
think so.
Briefly chatted about them. Yeah. So they were a faction that were created
10 years ago.
Almost more than 10 years ago now.
Wasn't it 10 years a few weeks ago, a few months ago?
Oh, it may have been, may have been.
Yeah.
I've lost track of how many years are in a decade.
COVID does that, doesn't it?
Yeah. There was 3 members, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose, now known as John Moxley in AEW.
Bunch of losers who never did anything after it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Done absolutely nothing.
Right, so they're all together in... Okay,
they're in NXT at the time. Depending on who you believe, this could have been CM Punk's idea, where again on multiple podcasts he's claimed that he's the guy that came up with the idea of having these 3 guys. Well, sorry, 2 of the guys, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, but with another guy called Cassius Ohno together, and they replaced Ohno with Roman Reigns, and they came in as muscle for the Authority and caused havoc.
They were like hired guns, weren't they? Basically, they were like they had no affiliation with anyone, but they were like goons for hire, and they call themselves the Hounds of Justice, which I think you'll like that. And they just used to come out and beat the shit out of people randomly and walk through the crowd, and they wore like body armor type of gear, they were just cool.
Yeah, they were probably one of the most over factions of the last decade.
Yeah.
In fact, 100%. And then towards the back end, so they split up. they were betrayed as part of Plan B, which we'll discuss. I think we'll probably do a deep dive on the Shield at some point. And then they kind of split off and did their own thing, but then they kept coming back for little reunions. And then towards the very end, it was actually illnesses for Roman Reigns, which actually, maybe looking back on his career, it might have been there was a viral infection that went round on one of them. 2017 tables, ladders, and chairs. He was supposed to be in a match, and he wound up ill a couple of weeks beforehand. So they then, instead of not scrapping the card, they then decided to replace him with Kurt Angle, who at the time hadn't wrestled for 11 years, and it was his first ever match.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
And he was an authority figure in WWE at the time.
I can understand that bit. 11 years.
Yeah, and
after 11 years after a very, very, very heavy substance abuse journey as well,
neck injuries. Yeah, and I think I've shared this in the group chat, but I'm gonna share it again because just the image of Kurt Angle with the Shield, it's both
when he had all the
heartwarming,
gear on. It's like
hilarious. Yeah,
it's like coming out with your uncle or something like that, isn't it?
I've thought like he's like an excited father comes out with his kids.
There was also Kurt Angle's quite memeable actually, because there's another great picture of him where the one where Triple H is punching him and he's like,
and he's just
looking off to the side.
Okay, all right, I've seen the picture now.
So it just looks like an excited father with his kids going, "Yeah, I'm with you. Can I join in? You're letting me join in?" And so it was like, that's not the Shield though. Really, the Shield was, and
that's like a guest appearance, right? It's like it's like a mate helping you
happy
out.
to be here, just happy to be taking part.
Makes
participation.
Yeah,
and it was a one-off, right?
It was a one-off, yeah. And then they did the same another one with Triple H, who was ironically like one of. Well, he brought them in because he was an authority. Or well, they claim to have no complete autonomy and no allegiances, but they actually turned out that they were with Triple H, and then they were against him for a long time. But then Triple H tipped up when again Roman Reigns was ill, and some house shows in Glasgow. And again, Triple H full regalia, all shielded up. So, but the interesting thing is, obviously, at the time, all three were still within WWE. So these little tweaks to what is essentially, the original Shield, and just replacing Roman Reigns, you kind of like sort of laughed it off. But now that Jon Moxley has completely left, so they had a pay-per-view. Which at the time, so looking back on it now, it's kind of like crazy that WWE would do such a thing there, where they did this whole humongous send-off for Jon Moxley.
Oh yeah,
Ambrose, and then 2 weeks later he tipped up at AEW, are the biggest rivals, and he's been their sort of flag bearer for the last 3 years. But the reason why I wanted to bring up
he went to New Japan first, though, didn't he?
He went to New Japan.
I think they were like, if we give him this big send off, he'll go to Japan, get out of his system, and then he'll come back home. And then he was like, "Fuck you, law, I'm not coming back."
Yeah. The big send off, the Shield's final chapter, which was a 3-on-3 match against Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre. The reason why I wanted to bring that event up is, of that event, 16 of the wrestlers on that card are no longer with WWE. And that's more than, I think that was 60% of the wrestlers on the card are no longer there.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was that?
That was in 2019.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Seems like quite a big turn.
There was a lot of cleaning house to pay for McMahon's viewings.
Pretty much.
Not to pay for it, but you know what I mean. So
the vast majority of the people who are no longer there are in AEW now.
Yeah,
it was like a big send off send off to AEW.
Do you know all of that? Actually, I was thinking as you were talking then, all of those allegations against Vince McMahon. And then kind of obviously there was a lot of firing. It was almost like he was going fucking mad, wasn't it? I mean, more mad than he was before, because he was just like firing people left and right, and everything was changing. It was almost like the perfect storm with AEW starting to then be able to just pick up a load of really good talent. That I mean, now they're holding on to people like crazy, aren't they? than they were then. So it was the perfect storm at the time for all that to happen.
No, absolutely. And it's kind of like, set up AEW for the rest of their existence now, having that WWE talent which kind of elevated them to the next level. Yeah, so that's the Shield. I think one that is closer to the ship, because there were enough people to get on a ship in this faction, is the NWO.
It's a shame it ended up being the Titanic, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Carl, do you want to explain
what the NWO is?
The NWO and how it kind of pertains to this sort of.
Yeah.
Now,
do you know I don't know if you know what it is, Phil. Maybe
I was just about to interject and say NWO, I believe, is a New World Order.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the rap version then, and we were going to get cancelled. No. Yes, the New World Order. So I jump in, Dan, as I chat away. So the New World Order initially was, like I said before, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall coming into WCW. They were like, we're the New World Order, blah, 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 blah. And then Hulk Hogan joined them, and kind of he turned heel for the first time ever.
Right.
He was the third man, yeah. And then over the course of months and years, it was the coolest thing at the time in wrestling. Like, it was this like outsiders coming in, black t-shirts.
It's a proper cool name.
Yeah,
I think of all the names that I've heard so far for tag teams and stables and stuff, New World Order is the best.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
And it was also the way they did it as well, with it being this kind of takeover, it was almost like they would take over like the cameras, and the backstage segments they would record were like black and white, shaky, like really, really like modern and really cool for the time, and very contemporary. And then
all the TV programs were kind of like renamed as well, and all the pay-per-views were renamed.
Yeah, so that's what it basically, as the faction grew, because it became very bloated, it almost became the plan originally was to make NWO its own company, and then they would have but it basically became, like, imagine it like some kind of invasion that then grew, and then it was almost like WCW, almost like a bit like the Marvel Civil War type of thing. It was that was meant to be the ultimate kind of thing, and it got so bloated, and then people turned on each other and left, and then made their own version of the NWO. So you had the NWO Wolfpack, which is the same logo but red, and then you had like the Latino World Order, which was like a bit of a piss take, and it all just got very bloated, very convoluted, and very messy until it just basically died. Crushed. And then they tried to redo it again with, I think it was called NWO 2000 or something.
So it sort of had to collapsed under its own weight. Almost.
Yeah, but at the time, it was the hottest thing in wrestling. It made it so that Nitro beat Raw. They were the two flagship shows for both companies.
Yeah.
That used to go head to head live every Monday night. It beat it for 52 weeks. 52 weeks?
83.
83. Wow. Sorry, 83 weeks.
Wow.
83 weeks in a row, which was like huge.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then kind of slowly but surely with Austin and the Attitude Era, WWF kind of just batted them back down, and then it was from. I think that the NWO I think they invaded it. Was it 97 or 98?
96.
Was it 96? Bash at the Beach. And by 2001, the company was done and closed.
Yeah. Within 2 years, they'd already split off into two separate factions.
Yeah.
And then that collapsed within 6 months. And then it kind of dissipated into smaller, fragmented groups. Still trying to sort of, but that was these smaller fragmented groups. They were claiming to be NWO, and it's like, well, you're not really. You were wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah, you're Lex Luger. What are you on about? You're not NWO.
Exactly.
If it was NWO's t-shirt, then whoever was wearing the t-shirt would be.
But this is the thing, like, the NWO kind of. Yeah, I think until Waltman, who was 6, so there's 6 members. I think that was NWO, and then anything after that, it was just a fucking convoluted mess. So yeah, I guess which way around is it? Does it still continue being the NWO, or do you class fucking Lex Luger and Scott Steiner as part of it as well?
with the Disco Inferno.
Yeah, exactly. Just people who are just
Bret Hart
shitty
was
people.
a member of NWO somehow. Like
that was definitely the shark jumping the shark moment, wasn't it?
Can you remember
Hart, beloved Bret Hart becoming a heel in NWO?
Do you remember a band called Polyphonic Spree that were around in sort of like the mid 2000s, and
they
were like 60 members or something?
I was going to say, were they ever
I do, yeah.
Like a weird American.
They almost looked like a they were like almost like looked like a Christian gospel.
Rock band,
Ed Kelly, they were in Scrubs, yeah.
Yeah, and then Scrubs, yeah. So like how many of those were the polyphonic? So another one, like in real life, ELO. I always love the ELO analogy of like there's 3 different ELOs. Like there's Australian ELO, there's the light orchestra, and then there's Jeff ELO.
Wayne. The guy who did War of the Worlds.
No. Basically, it's like they're all still ELO, but they split off the rights to the name ELO. But then instead of using ELO, there was
Jeff
ELO
Lynne.
2.0.
Yeah,
Jeff Lynne, that's it. Yes, Jeff Lynne's ELO, and it's like again, what became a thing got splintered off into separate little things, and it's like is NWO Wolfpack really NWO, or is it something else? Is NWO Hollywood when they came back together and then reformed in WWE? That's the big one. Is the NWO in WWE NWO because they were?
Because do you know what? I actually don't think it is, because it was crap, and it was trying to do like a rehash of something that worked and doing it poorly. That's really weird, because it's exactly the same 3 people who started it were the same 3 people who started WWF, but still it wasn't the same for me. Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it?
That's again, to loop it back to the Sugababes, are the original Sugababes, Siobhan, Muchi, and Keisha of the 2022 Sugababes. Are they still?
Well, that's it. I think it goes back to what we've spoken about before as well. Like that kind of wrestling in general, always trying to recapture lightning in a bottle, and the beauty of it is they constantly fail miserably, and it's a beauty to behold whenever it happens.
Can I just say that Bash of the Beach is the name of my little company that I I work for? I've been sitting on that. As soon as you said it, I was like, I've just got to wait until I could drop this.
Yeah.
Have we reached?
I think so. I think there is a bit of a summary, doesn't it, in a way, or like a thoughts and feelings off the back of all that. What do we think? What in terms of in wrestling? That and that philosophy is because Dan, you seemed very heavy on. It is the same broom.
Yeah.
Is it the same when it's analogized in wrestling?
Yeah, in wrestling, is the NWO in WWF the same NWO? No, because how I broke it down with Trigger's Broom was it performs the same function, and the owner of that was Trigger, and it performed the same function. Whereas the WWF NWO never really performed the same function it was meant to do. Like its function when it was created in 1996 was to cause chaos and reinvent the whole dynamic of the landscape of wrestling at the time.
Yeah.
And to really sort of shake things up at WCW. What was its function aside from being a nostalgia pop when it came back in WWF? So that's why in some roundabout way I've kind of justified disagreeing with the...
But by that logic, then the ship is okay because it's performing the same function.
It performs the same function, yes. I wasn't arguing that the ship never did. I was arguing that I think Trigger's Broom was a better analogy than the ship, or rather, sorry, an easier to understand analogy than the ship. Yeah, because there's more points to it. But I think actually breaking it down to the functionality of what it was meant to do, and yes, if it does that, then yes,
we'll allow it. We'll let it in.
We'll allow it.
There was an extra point that a philosopher made a lot later in life. He was called Thomas Hobbes, and he suggested a sort of a solution whereby you still had there was the physical ship, and then there was the sort of like kind of you said like a bit before, sort of the name of the ship, and they can still coexist at the same time. You just one might be slightly different, but like you said, it's still kind of the same entity, I guess is what he meant. But I think he still kind of left that open-ended. It doesn't really ever appear to be a clear answer from what I could gather, and certainly from what we've discussed tonight. We're still coming up with questions. Based on what
but I think it needs. If let's say that's like I don't know what type of ship it was, like a transport ship or whatever, a cargo ship. If it's still doing the same function, so what I'm getting to is, if you were to take all the parts and make a fucking speedboat and call it the same thing, I don't think it is the same thing. No. But if it's performing exactly the same as it was, it's got the same footprint, it's got the same dimensions and everything, I think it is. But yeah.
There we go. Solved it.
There we go.
Job done.
So we need. We just needed a poet to do a philosopher's job. So fucking get your act together, guys.
I just asked the AI thing to just write all that out. That's it from your favourite wrestling podcast.
With a lad from Hull.
But for this week, we're all tapped out.